load live here. All right, there we go. Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Mrabure-Goldsmith, host of the TeeRap show, where we showcase elite athletes and sport individuals with their inspiring stories and rise to glory in their pursuit of everlasting greatness. I'm excited for today. We have my man, professional football player, Ese Mrabure, who was a first-round pick in the CFL draft and has almost over a decade in the league. So you're going to hear some really good CFL stories. He's overcome injuries. He's won a Grey Cup with the Stamps, and you're going to get it all here live today. We're going to talk about how straight talent will only get you so far, how big the jump is really from university ball to pro ball, and the mindset behind being your best, overcoming injury. And you're going to hear it all. So listen in. Ese, my man, welcome. Welcome.
It's an honor to be here. I appreciate the invite. And again, honored to be here, man.
Right on, man. So let's talk about growing up. I understand your mom was like 100% against football. Said, no way, not playing football.
Yeah, those were pretty much her exact words. But a little bit off on the accent. She said, no way. Y'all not not at all. Not under my roof.
So your family's from Nigeria?
Yes.
You're first generation Canadian?
Yes, sir.
So Nigeria is not football, it's soccer, is that right?
Yeah, I mean it is football, but it's
it's called football.
It's called football. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. Right. So did you start playing soccer at a young age and then just like started growing? Because you're a pretty big dude.
Yeah, basically. So I'm the firstborn of three. I got a younger brother and a younger sister. But yeah, we all basically started the foundations of our athletic abilities come from our dad, who played a bit of pro ball in Germany.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So he played a bit of semi-pro ball in Germany. And then when they came here, had us, obviously they passed down the tradition. So I played soccer from, I want to say like U5 up until about U16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But then that's when I started to kind of get into my body a little bit. So at about 16, I'd say I was about 6'1", 6'2", 220-ish. About nearing that size. So I was constantly getting cards. I couldn't run as much as I could when I was a lot younger because I played midfield. So I just slowly kind of progressed back. So I was playing defense and getting so many cards. I thought, you know what, let's switch it up. And I moved over to basketball because
okay.
Yeah, so the height came a little bit. I had some influences like Vince Carter, Michael Jordan, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. So I played the 4, I played the 5, a little bit of the 3, as far as basketball terms go. But again, started growing a little more, fouling out of games, stuff like that. Just decided to look towards something a little more aggressive.
So something where you could actually hit guys and it'd be celebrated, not penalized.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
so
a lot of points.
So what was it with your mom not wanting you to play? Was it like just the danger of the sport, or she didn't understand the game, or you'd be a big disappointment if you didn't play football and not actual?
So basically, it was like a combination of all of that. I think she would have been fine if I said, I want to stick with basketball, or obviously if I want to stick with soccer. But essentially, it was really just the danger. I'm watching the NFL. Like I'm watching guys like Ray Lewis, Troy Polamalu, Ben Urlacher, those guys. Like that's when I first started kind of watching football, and that's what she saw. And obviously, when mothers they see violence or certain things happening, it's a little heightened through their eyes. So I understood.
Totally. Yeah. And she's a mom. That's their job, right? To worry.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I raced I raced motocross coming up. So I raced motocross probably till I was about 16. Raced all over the US and Canada. And I had several national championships, but my mom, she'd always video record us, which was awesome. I got like VHS of us racing when we were kids.
Yeah.
But she was like, that was the only way I could keep my sanity was filming, because then you're focused kind of on filming and not if my kid's gonna break both his arms or not. So that was how she managed it, but she was always on pins and needles.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Part of
Okay,
the
man,
job.
we know sport is progressive. It's getting to a whole different level where, kids are getting groomed from the time they're 3-4 years old. Now, you didn't start playing football till later in life, and you played multiple sports. What's your opinion on that? Like, is it a disadvantage? Is it an advantage to play multiple sports and kind of start, later in life? Give me your opinion on that, Ese.
So my personal opinion on that, and not only just because I took this route, but I do believe, I truly believe that being a multi-sport athlete in whatever sport you end up in, it's the perfect way to go. I feel like when I was playing basketball, the only reason I was as good as I was, not saying I was the best or anything, but I do believe, or I do remember being one of the only big men that anytime that we had switches on defenders, I could switch with anybody. I was covering point guards, shooting guards. I was covering big. It didn't matter what it was. And I think that helped, my soccer playing abilities, or when I played soccer, that helped with that. And then now in my football career, because I played soccer and I played basketball and I played a bunch of other sports. I played volleyball, I did track. So I was in high jump, shot put. I ran a bit of the 100 and 400. I like to say it because I competed in them, but let's not dive into that. The running aspects.
It wasn't the Usain Bolt kind of type running.
Oh, definitely not. Very far from
but it probably made you more versatile as a football player, having all of those.
Exactly. And, obviously I'm not the best, but I do have a very high, what's the word I'm looking for? I do look at my skill set very highly. So,
So I agree with you. So I played multiple, I raced up until 16, and then I played volleyball, track and field. I actually had, scholarships for that and golf. But I think, my opinion is it really diversifies you as an athlete, but in the same sense, right? You've been competing, it's the mindset, right? That you've been competing since such a small or a young age that, you can transfer that mindset. You still have 10 years experience competing and training, and that mindset is really, because you don't really blossom into a phenomenal player or a professional level player until later in life anyway.
Exactly. Right.
So let's kind of talk about that. You were a decent university player, and then all of a sudden you went to a great university player to getting drafted in the first round in the CFL. Talk about that transition, Ese, where you kind of go from good. I mean, and we say good because we've both played at a professional level.
Yeah.
I mean, the average person would have looked at you and they're like, man, he's a freak of nature. He's so good. But at an elite level, you were good. And then you went to the next level. You really brought your game. What did that take? What was the mindset behind that?
Man, when I think back to those times, at Laurier, and even just the first transition that you spoke of, from being good to great.
Yeah.
I remember coming into my rookie camp at Laurier thinking, okay, I made the first step, because we said it earlier. I didn't play a lot of high school football. I played grade 9, grade 10. I hung the cleats up because it was too much for me. Stuck with basketball, and then I played in grade 12 and grade 13. I went back for a half a semester to get film and to get into university. but I kind of just, it was something that I just jumped on. Like, hey, I'm pretty good at football. Let's see where it takes me. So, like I was saying, I jumped into my first rookie camp, and I get in there and I see all sorts of guys. I think there was like maybe 110, 120 of us. Some guys I recognized, obviously, from just from playing football in Mississauga, the GTA, and stuff like that. Like summer league football, we played against a bunch of different cities, and you run into guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start sizing yourself up with your peers, and then the vets come to camp, and then it's like, holy shit, you know? And I remember my very first rep was against I forget his last name, but Big Donnie. He was our star offensive tackle. I think he was in his 5th year, as I was in my first year. I think he was like 6'8", maybe 320 pounds. Just a mammoth of a human being. And very confident young Ese. Line up on the edge. I'm like, oh, I'm about to give him.
I'm about to light this dude
I'm
up.
about to kill this guy. Coach is about to be hoorah, and I'm about to chest bump with my teammates. And obviously the opposite of that happens. I remember I take my first step and he jump set me and he basically choke slammed me through the ground. And it kind of, it woke me up. And I kind of sat in my room and like made it like, I kind of had a conversation with myself, like, hey, do you really want to do this? And I thought about the hard work it took for me to, first of all, get my grades up to get into university from high school. I'm the firstborn, first generation Canadian. I got all these things in my mind, and I'm thinking, you know what? Let's just take it day by day, And I had a really solid group of guys that I had met at Laurier. Some guys that were in my class. We actually, all of us, we got drafted together or signed to a team and went into training camps professionally together too. So without the help of those guys, the encouragement of my parents and stuff like that, I don't think that transition would have made it wouldn't have went further than that first day, So a lot of internalizing my own like goals, like what do you want? What do you really need? Why are you here? And then, thinking of your parents, like, yeah, they sent you to school to make them proud, and something that you always hold near and dear to yourself as a child of immigrant parents, especially from Nigeria.
That's good. I'm glad. Yeah, man, I like how you touched on that. If I've read David Goggins' book, and he talks about like Hell Week and for the Navy SEALs, and the whole point of Hell Week is not to like physically test you, not to see how good a shape you're in. It's to break every guy down to a point where they know with 100% certainty why they're there.
100%.
Why they're doing that purpose behind that. So that's interesting, man. You were a talented player. You had a ton of potential, and your first practice like that, to have that doubt, I guess, creep in. So kind of maybe break it down, Ese, like what you really did step by step to overcome that doubt. And have you ever had that doubt like once you got drafted? Or were you like, I've made it now. Now I know what I'm capable of?
Yeah. So let's break it down first. It's a dark hole to climb out of. I think you can probably see that as well. And I think as humans, I say this a lot, we're very habitual creatures. So we all have doubts, you know what I mean? There's nobody that's excluded from that conversation. And then having speaking for myself, the mindset that I have, I'm very hard on myself and very critical of myself. I think a lot of professional athletes can attest to that and say that's part of the reason why they have that tag of a professional athlete, because they're so critical and hard on themselves. But I think, just like David Goggins said, it's not as much as the physical, like, okay, we're doing 1,000 push-ups because we want I want to see how much you're willing to go through to really see like, hey, do you actually want this? Because yeah, we did 1,000 push-ups and you'll never have to do 1,000 push-ups in a football game. But let me tell you, after 3/4 of playing defensive line, 3/4 of doing this, you feel like you've done over 1,000,000. And on top of that, you're thinking, okay, my legs are hurt. I hit my finger on a helmet. I got my bell rung. There's so many other factors. So the simulation of Hell Week is kind of how I navigated, I want to say, my career, getting to where I wanted to be. And when I say that, it's after we have team runs, I'm staying back to sprint the stairs or do some extra sprints with those core guys I spoke of. It's like 6 or 7 of us. After we have a team lift, we're staying to do cardio. We do team lift and cardio, and we're doing more cardio, you know? So I think it was, and I don't advise people to go and do this, but I was almost purposefully overloading my plate constantly just to keep busy, obviously, for one, because I don't know, idle hands. I've always heard idle hands very good, you know? And to stay out of trouble, all those things, right? But yeah, just I feel like overloading my plate to continuously be busy, to test how much I really want it. And at the end of the day as well, I always used to think of whenever you'd get punished, like, oh, you were late for practice, go sprint. I genuinely, from my experience and guys I've played with, those were the guys that were usually the higher skilled guys because they got extra work in. So I kind of thought of it like that, and use that as my motivating factors.
It's, you got to be able to push the mind. Like, again, I refer back to David Goggins. He refers to when you've pushed to the max and you feel like there's nothing, every human being has an extra 20% in there. And very few get to tap into that. And it's almost like adversity is your greatest ally. Like, it really is what builds you. Hey,
100%. And it's a double-edged sword, because you just obviously you can burn out from that as well if you're constantly doing that. But yeah.
So what about I think I read you weren't predicted to get drafted first round, but you did. So kind of talk about that feeling. It was probably a little surprising getting drafted first round, and tell me kind of what you were feeling and what you were going through at that time.
Yeah, so I would agree and disagree to the surprising part. I was pleasantly surprised, I would say, not more of like oh my God, I was predicted to go this and that. And that was really just because of my training, like the training regimen I was going through, that specifically in that time. I met a coach, Anthony Cannon. He came to coach the D-line in my 3rd year at Laurier. And this was part of that whole transition to, like, you know what? I made the transition from high school to university. I'm a pretty good player, I feel like guys talk about game planning for me, things like that. So when I met Anthony Cannon, that was the East-West Bowl year. So at the end of that year, the guys that are on CFL prospect lists for the following year, they all get invited to the whole East-West Bowl. I'm sure you're familiar with it. They played the whole game. They got a week of coaching and that sort of thing. So I had a conversation with Coach Cannon after we had training camp was finished, and we played our scrimmage against Waterloo. And he asked me, he's like, because me and him were always close. And to be honest with you, he was like he was the second Black coach I ever had, as far as like position coach or even like head coach type of thing. So, and at the time, Laurier wasn't really as diverse, I would say. This was 2012, 2013. So, we were all making our way to Laurier, but, it was just in patches and batches. But he pulled me aside. He's like, hey, Ese, I have a question for you. you know how I feel about our relationship. I know you're one of the team captains, but I have a serious question for you. Like, how great do you want to be?
Mm,
And I sat there, and obviously it was very cliche in my mind. And when you think of that question, because you see it in movies all the time, like, how great do you want to be?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
inspiring music, it's like dun, dun,
As a
dun.
motivational punchline.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I had that brief moment, but then I seriously like thought about the question, like, how great do I want to be? And I remember saying like, oh, I don't even want to be great. Like, I want to be legendary. And then he was like, okay, cool. So we got some work to do. And I remember from that day up until this is that day through the East West Bowl up until May 12th, 2015, when I got drafted, it was just go mode. I was like,
Mm,
yo, I am getting drafted in the first round. I am doing this, I am doing that. And for years, I've been trying to kind of tap back into that mode, and I've come close, but I don't know what it was. It was a very crazy feeling. I just told myself every single day, it was like, I'm getting this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And sure enough, I did it. I remember getting ready for the combine. I was working 3 jobs. I had 3 courses, and I was working out with the team, doing my own workouts, and then commuting to Oakville without a car to do another workout. And this was like 7 days a week for damn near 2 years. And yeah, so that's why I said earlier that I wasn't really surprised. I
right.
was more
You
so
had
like,
it in your mind. You were already,
exactly.
yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
manifested it. I did the steps in order to bring that manifestation to life. And at the time, I really wasn't aware of it. I was just wake up. Okay, I got class. After class, I got to work. Okay, after work, I got film, and then another workout, sleep, repeat. Not a single thing. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm so tired. I would wake up, go to sleep. And it was almost like I was like turning on the button every morning, pressing power and then pressing power at night and just going through it day in, day
Right.
out.
So that's really good. I kind of wanted to, you know, progress through your CFL career. So, but we're going to jump ahead just a little bit here
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah, for
touched
sure.
on that. You've gone through some life looks much differently now than it did back then.
Oh, yeah.
You have kids under the age of 5, you know, happily married. Um, when that happens, like it's when life looks differently like that, now you got kids to worry about, now you got a family. Can you still be an animal on the field? Can you still have that instinct to just like, I'm going to do whatever the F it takes to win?
Yeah, honestly, like I said earlier, I've been trying to find a way to tap back into that mode. And I think my kids, uh, looking at them, that's what was inside me that I tapped into. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? In a sense, I look at them and it's just, I have to go. I need to get this. I need to do this. This is going to happen. I will get here. I will do this. And I think that having those experiences as well, just being sure to tap into your internal self is key, because you've done it before, right? So
right. If
you
you
have the ability to do it, right?
if you've
Yeah,
done it once, do it again.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Just got to find a way to do it.
So you get drafted, you play pro. Was it like, holy shit, this is way different? Or were you already at that point in your skill level, your career, that you were like, no, I can compete with these guys. I'm ready.
Mentally, you think that, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Mentally, you're like, man, especially getting, and I'm gonna be completely honest, especially getting drafted in the first round, you're over the moon. Like,
Right.
hey, I'm a first rounder. This is where I'm supposed to be. and a little part of you is expecting like, hey, because I got drafted in the first round, I'm going to play. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
you kind of have all those things in the back of your mind, or not even the forefront of your mind,
Yeah.
because you've put in all this work. You've proven to your peers and yourself that, hey, through the combine and the draft process, like I've shown you this is what I deserve, and this is where I'm supposed to be.
Mm.
So let's get it, you know. And I remember going into training camp with that mindset, and you almost you almost forget about. I mean, at least I did. I kind of forgot about the fact that we'd have American players coming up as well.
Right.
And some of these American players have all like, even though they're labeled as a rookie, some of these guys have played uh, either they've had a training camp with the Seahawks, or they've had 2 years with the Chiefs, or they've been with the
Right.
three,
Right.
4, 5 years, but because this is the first time they crossed the border, they're a rookie. So I'm in rookie camp. What am I now? 22 years old. 22 years old. Looking across the room, and I'm seeing guys are like 28. He's considered a rookie. He played with Arizona for about 3 years. He's won a Super. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at
Yeah.
these caliber guys.
Tom Brady's going to come to the CFL next year and be a rookie again.
He actually would though, and
Yeah.
that's the crazy part, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking across the room. I'm thinking like, what the hell am I gonna do here? Obviously, you still have all these other things in the forefront of your mind. Like, I'm supposed to be here. I did this. I did that. I'm a first rounder. I got drafted. I'm Canadian. But then you get on the field, and it's like, okay, we're all just playing football. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Simplify it.
Simple play. He's played with the Chiefs. He's played with this. He's played with that. But at the end of the day, when I broke it all down, the X's and O's are still the X's and O's. But I will admit the advantage is obvious. You know, they play at a higher level. Football means more in certain parts of the world, and that happens to be where they're from. So a lot of factors, but at the end of the day, I think it's been rumored, and it's talked about all the time, that the skill difference there's not a big skill gap. So, you know, from my experience, and I would say that is very factual.
So let's kind of talk about the difference between the CFL, NFL. Did you ever have an opportunity to go down there, or ever look at that option?
Yeah, so after my third year in the league, I played 1 year. I played 1 year and a training camp with BC, and then I had made a switch to Saskatchewan. Played 2 years with Sask, and I had an opportunity to get a workout with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
So I went out there for a week. It was like a couple days, but I left on Thursday, came back Saturday. Excuse me. I was the only D lineman, but I had a workout with them, and it went well. It went really well. And then some external circumstances kind of cut it short. But I'm very happy for the opportunity that I had with that.
And what's the difference, like in skill level between CFL, NFL, playing down there?
If I'm being honest, from my experience and what I saw, there's not much. It's really just for every one superstar we have out here, or every one freak athlete we have out there, there's like 5 to 10 down there. And that's just really the main difference. A big factor in that is the population density. You know, there's so many more people in the States than there are in Canada.
By default, for sure. And
by default, so.
And it's like Nigeria and soccer. Football down in the States is it's all they talk about.
It's all they talk about. It's all they do. You see it on social media, like these little tykes with their looks like 100-pound helmets just running around. You don't see it much out here. You see that with like hockey or soccer. Like you see all the tykes running around. But one day we'll get there, you know.
And it's huge at a high school level. Like some of those
Yeah.
small in the States, man, like the high school players are getting treated like celebrities, and
Yeah. Oh
those
yeah.
stadiums are packed to watch a high school game.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Guys are
movie, what was it, Friday Night Lights or something, was actually based off of a true story, man, or like
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a true high school football team.
Yeah. It's crazy. That
Yeah.
culture there. It's amazing. I definitely want to experience it one time. I've never been to like a high school game. I think I went to had a cousin that was playing at Penn State, and they
Yeah.
had like a spring exhibition game, and the stadium was packed. People were tailgating, and I'm looking around like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's $5 a ticket to go watch the Dinos play here.
yeah,
Football.
right.
Yeah. So you've had a few injuries over your career. Kind of talk about, because confidence is a major factor in being successful in especially athletics.
Mhm.
And when we get injured, it really just chips away at that confidence to get back out there and compete at the same level. So talk about kind of what your mindset is when you get injured, and then to come back from an injury and really try and be stronger than you were when you went in.
Mhm. Injuries, man. I've definitely had my fair share of them. And for any young guys that are listening, get it handled as soon as possible. You're only young once. Your youth is so precious. And as soon as you find out, or as soon as you think something's wrong, just go get it checked out. And another thing, also get a second or third opinion.
Yeah.
Have to. We're all humans, man. We all make mistakes, and it's nothing against doctors or the medical health professionals, but at the end of the day, if you're only relying on one perspective or one person's idea or how they operate,
Right.
then you're really just cutting yourself short. So I would
We
say
get 3-4 opinions on getting our car repaired, but only one opinion on getting a ACL repaired.
exactly right. So just definitely treat that with caution and care. But man, injuries it's something that you go into it obviously knowing it's like, okay, it's a possibility. Sport, but especially football. It's a gladiator sport. You're running at full speed against another person that's running at full speed. You're both providing for your families. You're both trying to make a living. You're both, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
And
a
your
lot
mom's
of
in the stands going, "Oh no."
yeah, literally, right?
Yeah.
So hey, if I'm playing X amount of years, nobody beats football. You can't beat football, just like you can't beat life. You can't beat uh, sports. You're gonna get injured, whether it's at the beginning, the middle, or the end of your career. So having that mindset going into it, that's obviously huge. You need to come to that understanding. Otherwise, you're in for it. Because even with that mindset, it's a dark place.
Right. So SA, how do you build, and this maybe goes back to you trying to get back to really, that 100% focus. What do you do on a daily basis to build confidence, to build your mindset around winning on the field? And like, do you do visualization? Do you do meditation? Do you do anything like that? What's kind of your routine on a daily basis?
So I through the years I've had a number of mentors. Some that I still keep in contact with every once in a while, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the case may be. Enoch Mwamba, he told me once upon a time, because we kind of grew up together as well. He told me that you gotta celebrate yourself. You gotta throw on your highlight tape and watch yourself be great. You know what I'm saying? So if you go to my YouTube search history right now, you will see my own name in there. And I just gotta watch and see. Like, you gotta remind yourself, because like I said earlier, as humans, we that sense of doubt regardless of where you are in life, it's gonna creep in. Whether
Yeah.
it creeps in and stays momentarily, stays for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, a minute, 2 seconds, it's gonna come. So you got to counterbalance that. You got to counteract it. You got to build your own confidence. You got to be your own your own biggest fan.
Right. I think as athletes, we too often think of, well, I shouldn't say athletes, humans, we think of past losses too often, creep back and allow that to predict our future. So I actually do the same thing. I have my goals binder, and third page, I have a winning resume, and it's all my wins as an athlete and now in business. But I read that every day. So that's cool that I apparently wasn't good enough to have a highlight reel on YouTube, but that's good. But it's true, right? Like, thinking about your past wins, that's if you're only dwelling on your losses or your injuries, or that's for sure going to hold you back.
Yeah, 100%.
So here's kind of a loaded question, and let's hope that no coaches listen to my podcast. How much in success, how much is coaching? How much is the player? Like, really, when it comes down to it, can a great player still become great if he doesn't have a good coach? Or can a decent player become great if he has a better coach?
Yeah, you're right about the loaded question. I want to say both can be true.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously it depends on the sport, but I play football. So when I think of football, I was actually thinking about this the other day. In my 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22. So in my 7 seasons, I would have probably played with, give or take, 100 other guys.
Right.
So over the span of 7 seasons, that's 700 different players. Not everybody responds to the same things, right? So there both has to be true.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's how I think about it. I think there's just too many people for there to be one way, and that's how I think about everything in life. There's too many people in the world for there just to be one way to do things, and be right. And I think it all comes down to perspective and how you learn or how you operate, and kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's for sure, and this comes from a parent perspective, right? Like, there's for sure got to be something in the athlete that pushes, they want something bigger, but then there's got to be the guidance that helps get them there. I've always told my boys, like, if you want to play professionally, absolutely, like 100%, I'll be behind you, but that's a different commitment level from yourself and from mom and dad to get you there. And if you want to just play for fun, then that's awesome as well. And I'll 100% support that. So it almost takes both, but it's almost like it's triggered from the athlete. Hey.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you don't want it for yourself, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't, it's like the saying, you can't force, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink.
Right. Totally.
And I think I've run into a couple guys, and maybe only a handful of guys that made it to the professional level. And they're like, you know what? I don't even want to be here. I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
So,
totally.
It happens, but it's very rare. There's just so much time and effort you put into it.
So, Ese, you did get a Grey Cup with the Stamps. Yeah. Talk about that, man. Very few people get to experience that, having a championship, what was that experience like for you? Knowing, like,
sorry, go ahead.
You've dedicated your whole life, right, to getting there. Like, that's why you play. You want a championship. You don't play football to make, hundreds of millions of dollars. At the end of the day, it's because you love the game and you want to win a championship. It's about winning. How good was that feeling and that experience?
Oh man, the first say that was my first championship win, like, ever, of any sport, whether
any level,
any sport. That was my first, like, hey, you are the best in the entire league. So that was I was on top of the world.
That's cool.
My close friends are not really everybody on Instagram who remembers that night knows that I was on top of the world for sure.
Yeah.
But as we touched earlier, I was injured for like the duration of the playoffs. So I was kind of navigating through that mental battle.
Right.
But it was a huge relief. I ended up, like you said, nobody really plays. You don't play football to be Bill Gates rich. You don't play football to own X amount. You know what I mean? You don't play football for that. It's the love of the game, and
a couple million in the bank account is fine. Like
a couple. Playing in the NFL, that's how that's the route. But you play for the championships. And you play for a lot of guys play for the camaraderie. They love the brotherhood aspect of, hey, I'm at battle. I'm giving my 100%. I want to give up, but the guy beside me is doing the exact same thing and he's not giving up, so that whole mentality that sparks something in a lot of people. And even for me, I have a quote that I live by, or a Bible scripture. Sorry, I have it on my forearm. It's Proverbs 27, verse 27, verse 17. And it says, as iron sharpens iron, so one brother sharpens another. So, like that. You know what I mean? It's just, it's one of those things that brings us together to play the sport that we love. So when I won, the first thing I thought of was like, man, all those years, all the blood, all the sweat, all the tears, all of like the DNA that I had shed and left on all these fields over the years has finally come together into this one ring, or this one moment, really. And I remember the first person I ran to when we won was my brother. He came to the game with my dad. It was out in Edmonton, and they were sitting right behind us. And I turned around and I put my hands up and I was like, hey, can I cuss on here?
Oh yeah.
We fucking did it. I was like, we fucking did it. He came, give me a big hug. And then my D-line coach, my dad, and it was just, I can't really describe it. That's the best I can really put to it. But it was like, fuck, finally, all this shit that I've been through, all the stuff that I put myself, my body, my mind. It's like, okay, I finally got it. And
so let me ask you a follow-up question. Was it worth it?
100%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, man, I want to wrap up here. There's a young Ese growing up. He wants to play pro football. It's his dream. He wants to dedicate. What advice do you tell him, man? Like, how does he get there?
Just stay the course. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay focused. Don't lose track of what you're doing, and have fun. That's the biggest thing I can remember from those times. Even like through the combine, through injuries, at the end of the day, and a lot of people that know me, that really know me, know this about me. Whether I'm having the worst day ever or the best day ever, you're gonna hear like my signature laugh at least once or twice throughout the day. So have fun, keep laughing, and don't skip any of the workouts. Just keep going.
Love it, man. You just got to be willing to just keep going no matter what.
Just keep driving.
Love it. Well, Ese, I commend you on an incredibly successful career so far. I hope you get to put a few more rings on before you tie it up. I appreciate your time this morning. This has been a lot of fun. We've had a few laughs, but we've also learned a lot into the mindset and not only overcoming adversity, but really, what it takes to grind. Doesn't matter what level you're at. You really got to have that commitment level. So I appreciate your expertise and having you on the show, man. We'll jump off live here and wrap up.
All right. Awesome. Again, it was a pleasure.
Thanks, man.